Okay, hello. Thank you for joining us today.
Lovely to be here, Rowan. Thanks for having me.
Would you like to start by just introducing yourself?
Yes, certainly. My name's Katrina Rees. I'm one of the area managers here at Practice Plan. I predominantly work with the team around the south of the UK, supporting dental practice with their dental memberships and lots of various other questions and queries that get thrown our way, particularly in relation to NHS conversions and driving extra income for their practices.
So, what does the landscape look like in dentistry right now?
Well, I think it's fair to say things are more than challenging in the industry at the moment. I think you've only got to pick up the newspaper, put the telly on, and if a news story pops up, you know it's not going to be a good one when it comes to NHS dentistry and in particular access to NHS dentistry. Where the industry is dogged with recruitment issues, if you're trying to find an associate, a nurse, a therapist, any of these roles are very much in short supply. And on top of that, there are just huge frustrations with the NHS in general. Contracts aren't fit for purpose. And I think that's fair to say, regardless of what country in the UK you're in, people are generally very unhappy and very frustrated. I think if we move on now and look at the Common Select Committee hearings, I think any hope of any change happening is fading away now. And more dentists are just reassessing their future within the system completely.
And what are you noticing with the practices that you work with?
There is a huge sway in practices moving away from the NHS and into independent dentistry. NHS conversions are just showing no sign whatsoever of slowing down, and we continue to work with many practices wishing to take that step to leave the NHS and support them with getting their membership plans in place and get patients onto plan so that they can replace that really important income. Now, a lot of this, Rowan, is due to the issues with recruitment. We know practices just can't get any associates to work, but to try and get an associate to work the NHS is even harder. So, what we are finding where there are practices with associates there, it is actually the associates that are driving and forcing that change in the practice. So, they feel there's a big lack of earning potential on the NHS. They just don't want to do it. They want to go and do the type of dentistry that they enjoy and that they want to do. So as business owners, there is that massive fear of constantly pushing to meet targets and trying to avoid clawback, which for most is just inevitable at the moment. And what's interesting when I speak to practices, Rowan, is that most of them are just leaving because they've hit the end of the tether. It's come to a head now. And one client that I was with in South Wales a short while ago said to me, Kat, it's like working in a production line. It's a factory. I get one patient in, one patient out. I'm not able to give them the treatment that I'd like to do. It's all about driving new patients through. And what he actually said to me is this is causing me 90% of my stress and it's only generating me 30% of my business income. And, you sit down and you're having these conversations with people. These dentists, they want to do their best. They want to be providing NHS and morally feel they should be providing access on the NHS for their patients. And they want to do all they can as a dentist, but the system is fundamentally flawed and it's putting huge amount of pressure on them. And as you've probably heard many times before, they're often subsidising the NHS with their own private treatment. It's a sad state of affairs.
And what would you say are the benefits of putting a membership plan in place?
There's lots of benefits, for everybody in the practice, dentists, the business, and of course the patients. Membership's never been more sought after, really. They give the practice and the clinician the peace of mind that regular income is going to be there all the time. And if we look back over the last few years during the pandemic, not that I want to take people back through that, but when you look at dental membership plan, it's fair to say that most of our practices really saw the benefits of having membership plans in place. And despite not being able to open the doors, they were still able to count on those plan fees coming in, keeping things ticking over. Many practices have told us that the income from their plan was actually the lifeline for their business, and that's what inevitably helped them to survive. So that guaranteed income is a no-brainer, I think, for everybody. Another point to think that is important is chair time. Operational costs are massive, and it costs a lot of money to run a practice, and empty chairs aren't generating income for a business, and NHS patients can be a little more prone to fail to attend and not turn up for these appointments. And we do know that if you've got patients on a membership plan, they are paying in advance for their routine dental appointments. So there is far less risk of them failing to attend. Plan patients are patients who have a genuine interest in their dental care and their oral health, and they do want to look after themselves and take up treatment where it's needed. So if you've got a plan patient, they are more likely to take up alternative treatments and listen to the recommendations of their dentists. And if we just do go back to those patients for a moment, because let's not forget them in all this, they are so important. This is a time where access to a dentist is near on impossible, particularly if you're looking for an NHS dentist. And many private, dentist practice are at capacity. If you have got a dental membership in place in your practice, it is an opportunity for your patients to have peace of mind that they are registered with a dentist and that they can have that access to ongoing routine dental care. It's a big supply and demand issue at the moment, and this is one of the biggest things they want. And private care doesn't need to be expensive. If you're on a dental membership plan, all of a sudden it becomes much more affordable for a patient. They can spread the cost of routine appointments. So, and I think, to be honest, Rowan, a lot of patients kind of expect it now.
So from the practice perspective, how would they decide which of the plans is right for them?
That's a good question, because there are loads of different dental plan types out there. It is easy to put a dental membership plan in place, but it's not as easy as just popping any old plan in place. We do need to do a little bit of legwork behind the scenes to determine what type of dental plan is right for the practice and also for the patient's needs. So we'd meet with the practice and support them to really understand a little bit more about their business, the team makeup, to assist them with this decision. We fundamentally recognise at Practice Plan that these are your practice patients. They're not our patients, they belong to the practice. And we support the practice to get the plans that's right for business and for them. So we'll guide them with costing and ensure that these plans are fit for purpose and will generate the income that they need. Now, most dentists would ideally like to see patients on a 6 monthly basis. I think that's kind of what we got a bit conditioned to, isn't it? So you go in every 6 months, you see your dentist regularly, they can spot potential issues ahead of them becoming a problem, and then the dentist will refer you also for that hygienist twice a year. And that's generally what a typical dental membership plan would look like in a lot of practices. But not all practices have got that makeup. They haven't got a hygienist, so it's not always viable. So there's lots of different plans there. We will go and tailor the plans to the needs of that business and the practice. Something that's quite interesting that's happening a lot more often now is a more hygiene-led practice. So we see this where the hygienists see the patients more frequently, and this is working in line with their dental membership plans also. So we'll have a more hygiene-led plan where they'll see the dentist maybe once a year, and that frees up chair time then for the dentist to go out and carry out other treatments. So there's all sorts that goes on. It's quite straightforward to implement once we know what your needs are, and we support the practices with it.
And do you have any advice for practices?
I would say there's always options available to support your practice to grow its income. And it's really good not just to stick all your eggs in one basket. Have money coming in from different income streams is always good, especially guaranteed income like a dental plan, because that will help you plan ahead and budget for different things. Dental plans can be introduced to any practice at any time as an alternative way for them to provide access for the patients and that ongoing income stream. If you are a dental practice listening to this and you have dental plans in place already with another provider, and maybe you're not getting support that you need from your provider, or you don't use those plans anymore because they haven't been reassessed and increase the fees regularly over a period of time, they may not be costed correctly and they may not be fit for purpose anymore. And we do see that quite a lot, and we can help practices work through that process. There are things that can be done to manage your existing patient plan lists and get you onto the correct fees without disrupting that patient base. We can also bulk transfer patients across from one provider to another, which is a very simple process, which could actually support practices to make extra savings and grow their plan revenue. So I would say practice plan, we've got a fabulous team of really experienced regional support managers who would all be very happy to support any practices with any questions they've got regarding dental membership plan implementation or leaving the NHS. We're here to help you, and there are things we can do to help support you.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for your advice.
Oh, it's a pleasure, Rowan, it really is. Thanks for having me here today.
Thank you.